you can tap into that equity and then turn around and take those funds and use them to buy investment real estate. It's also a possibility too, if you have a 401k with your employer, you can go and possibly borrow up to $50,000 out of that 401k plan. Hey, are you eager to dive in the world of real estate investing, but you feel held back by lack of funds? Well, don't worry, you're not alone. Many of us dream of building wealth through real estate, but often feel like the barriers to entry are just too high. So in this video, we're going to shatter those barriers and explore 8 creative strategies tailored specifically for people like you who want to start investing in real estate with limited financial resources. All right, let's get started. All right, so what is the easiest way to get involved in real estate investing if you have little to no money? That is to partner with someone else, basically someone who has money. Now, what's key here is if you're going to partner with someone, you want to make sure that all parties' interests are protected. And the way you're going to want to do that is by setting up a limited liability company. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you're looking to partner with someone, what we recommend you do is you set up an LLC. So this is going to be the entity that's going to take title of the property. And so what you're going to have here is you're going to have what I like to refer to as my money partner. That's the person that's going to be bringing money to the deal. And then you're going to have yourself over here, and you're going to be the say, project manager. We'll call you the PM, because you're the one that's going to go out there and find the real estate deals. Because oftentimes these money partners, they don't want to get involved in the day-to-day. What they're looking for is a return on their investment. So you're bringing in this money partner to help get this deal going. And so what you're going to do is you're going to form this joint venture operating agreement. Now, when you're doing this, it's real key here that when you're putting together this LLC, this operating agreement needs to spell out very essential provisions when it comes to how the property is going to be handled. Because, for example, is this going to be a fix and flip deal, or is this going to be a long-term hold? Many times investors may not be willing to keep their money in a deal that long. They want to get it out sooner. So you have to factor that in to your overall operating agreement on how this person is going to be taken out at some point in time. But nevertheless, typically if we set up an LLC, then you have to determine what is going to be the ownership. Is it going to be a 50-50 split here, or is it going to be something different? And so you can actually get quite creative in these operating agreements where you can actually give this investor here who's coming in with the money a preferred return. You could say, hey, listen, in order for you to put money into this deal and fund this purchase for me, I am going to give you the first, say, 5% of profits that come off the property, and then we'll split the remainder 50-50. Or maybe you'll only do that for a certain period of time. And so what I'm saying is that there's many different options that are available when you partner with someone else. And oftentimes, if you know someone who has money, this is going to be the easiest way to do it. But the biggest mistake I see investors make is by not setting up an LLC and putting together an operating agreement that covers everyone's expectations. Okay, another option you have would be to explore the use of a lease option. Now, with a lease option, it's a little different here. Let me just erase all this. So in a lease option arrangement, what you're going to be doing is you're going to find a piece of property here that's actually owned by someone else. So in this scenario, you're not actually buying the property. What you're going to do is you're going to approach this person here, and you're going to enter into a lease agreement with this individual that owns a property with an option to buy. So what that means is that you're going to take control of this property. Maybe this is a 2-year lease, so you're going to take over control of the property. And so what you're doing is you're giving yourself time to either, if you have bad credit, fix your credit, or for a lot of investors, it's time to build up some cash so they can go out and get traditional financing to buy this property from this seller. And the option agreement is critical because the option agreement is going to spell out what your purchase price is going to be for this property. So you know ahead of time, if it's a 2-year lease with an option agreement, this house may be in 2 years, they agree to sell it to you, the seller, for $125,000. Great. So I know, depending on how I'm going to qualify for this property, how much I need. Now the question is, for many people, where do I get the income? Well, in an option of this nature, many times what this individual will do is they will sublease the property back out. So you could sublease this back out to other parties. Maybe it was in, say, Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's next to ASU. So you're going to rent the rooms to students. So now you're bringing in 3 or 4 people here, and they're paying you collectively $500. So you're bringing in $2,000 a month. You're paying this person over here $1,200 a month. So you're pocketing $800 a month under this. So you've got a lease here, and then you got a sublease on this side. Many times this is referred to as a sandwich lease. So you make the difference of $800, you multiply by 12, that equals $9,600 a year. In 2 years, you'll have over $20,000, which is probably pretty close to getting you the down payment to buy this property at $125,000. Okay, the third option you have when it comes to buying property with little to no money is to consider seller financing or consider a land contract. Okay, so what is this? That means that the property here is owned by a seller. So you're going to approach the seller and you're going to enter into a purchase and sale agreement to buy the property. But the seller is going to serve as the bank. So they're going to be the bank on this deal. And so many times in those types of arrangements, it's about figuring out what the seller's needs are. Are they just looking for income? Well, this is a great opportunity because they don't want to sell the property right away because they realize they're going to have to pay a bunch of tax on that initial sale. So they're finding you as a solution provider who's coming up to the seller and saying, hey, I'm going to buy this property. I'm going to make sure that you're going to get an income stream because I'm going to be paying you for the purchase price, principal plus interest for 10, 15 years, however long you negotiate that out. Now, the difference between seller financing and a land contract, if you're going to go down this road, is that in seller financing, you actually take title to the property. With a land contract, the seller continues to hold title to the property. So you should be aware of both strategies when you approach a seller that you think may be interested in this type of deal, because the land contract I would keep in my back pocket just as an aside if they weren't comfortable with the seller financing, because you can see the risk here. If they sell you the property, they transfer the deed to you, then if you don't pay, they have to foreclose. Whereas if you do a land contract, because if a seller said, I'm not comfortable with that, say, well, I'll tell you what, how about we keep the title in your name? We can put together a land contract where title doesn't transfer to me until I've paid the entire property off. So now if I don't pay, you can just, we'll call it foreclose on the contract, and you're in a very strong position that way. So be aware of both of those strategies. They're used very successfully by real estate investors who are just getting started, that don't have a lot of money to put down, by using the seller to finance the deal. All right, a fourth way in which you can get into real estate is what we call house hacking. So let's say you're leasing out a property right now. You're the tenant on that property and you have a few extra bedrooms. Well, have you considered leasing those bedrooms out to start generating additional revenue? If you start bringing in that revenue, now you can take those funds and use them as a down payment to actually go out and get your first investment property or maybe a personal residence. House hacking is a great tool that's been utilized by a lot of individuals who are just getting started in real estate to build up that nest egg. Or better yet, you get into an agreement, or at least not a leasing agreement, but you purchase a piece of property and now you want to pay that mortgage off so you don't have to pay anything, or you can pay it off much sooner because you have extra income coming in. This is a perfect way for which you can do that, because you're going to be taking that house that you own, maybe it's a 3-2 house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and you lease out 2 of the rooms. So you have 2 tenants in the property with you. Then maybe they're paying you $800 a month. That's covering your entire mortgage. Now you're able to put more money aside in your savings to buy your next property. Now, the fifth method for those individuals who are looking to get started in real estate is to wholesale. Now, wholesaling is a great starter strategy for individual real estate investors because it doesn't require any out-of-pocket money. It's just your time. And with a wholesaling, what you're doing is you are finding some motivated sellers, people who have property, they're looking to get rid of it. Typically, there's a lot of extra meat on the bone, is what we like to say, is that you can flip that property to an investor who's going to want to come in and rehab it, and they realize they can make money off it. So the wholesaler, what they're doing is they're identifying opportunities, tying those opportunities up under a purchase and sale agreement, then finding an investor that will pay them to step into their shoes. Now, if you're considering wholesaling, some things to keep in mind. Number one, educate yourself about how to do this, because it can get a little complicated as far as the whole process is concerned. So you want to make sure you're educating yourself. Second thing you want to make sure of, you're using a business entity, an LLC. You don't want to sign on any contract with a seller in your individual name, because for whatever reason it doesn't go through, you may have liability. Third, you want to make sure that you've built up some investors. You've found network, you've found people that are real estate investors that are willing to buy the property. Because what they're going to do, as I stated earlier, is you're going to show them this deal that you have the right to close on, let's say in 45 or 60 days. And they're going to say to you, all right, I'll take that deal off your hands. And then they're going to pay you, say, $5,000 of a wholesale fee. They're going to step into your shoes, and then they're going to close on the property. So it's also imperative that when you're putting these deals together, if you're going to wholesale, as I stated earlier, you got to make sure there's enough there for the investor so they can make money. You never buy at the top of market or tie properties up at the top of the market because it just doesn't work out. You're not going to be able to flip that to an investor. Okay, the last way in which you can get started in real estate investing if you don't have a lot of money is if you have assets. If you have a personal residence and you have a lot of equity that's trapped in your property, you can go out and qualify. If you can qualify for a home equity line of credit, you can tap into that equity and then turn around and take those funds and use them to buy investment real estate. It's also a possibility too, if you have a 401k with your employer, you can go and possibly borrow up to $50,000 out of that 401k plan, and that money can be used to start your real estate investing. See, the key here is you know your options, but more importantly, start networking. Start getting out there in local REIA groups, start talking to other real estate investors so you can start building up your opportunities. That is key as a real estate investor, is to creating those networking groups, the individuals that you can establish that will create deals for you or create deal flow. Critical when it comes to being a real estate investor. If you want to learn more about how to put a plan into action and properly structure all of your real estate investments, you can register for our free tax and asset protection live event at the link below. Guys, on this event, I'm going to be teaching you all about how to use limited liability companies, land trusts, corporations, series LLCs, statutory trusts, 401k plans to invest into real estate. And then you're going to layer in wholesale strategies, subject to investing, buying property on seller financing. You're going to learn all about that. And you're also going to learn about the tax side of investing, where you can reap massive tax benefits from owning real estate. But more importantly, we're going to bring our attorneys and CPAs to this event where you can ask them specific questions about your individualized situation. Look forward to seeing you there.